barred national campaign to dismantle organized crimes. These are street crimes. Organized crime today is on the streets, and this administration doesn't want to talk about that crime. They want to talk about what they think are other crimes, and many people say they're not crimes. We have to round up the drug dealers, the gang members, and the dangerous offenders, charge them for their crimes, and get them either out of our country and back to where they came from, or put them behind bars. If you look at countries throughout the world, there's another thing. Please don't say it, sir. Please, sir. I've been doing this for 30 years, sir. Then I looked at his list of wins. It's not too good. Please don't say it, sir. If you look at countries throughout the world, the only ones that don't have a drug problem are those that institute the death penalty for drug dealers. That's it. When I was in China, and until the plague came in, I had a very good relationship with President Xi. We made a great trade deal for our manufacturers and farmers, but after the plague, I don't even talk about that deal. Too much damage done. But I had a great relationship with President Xi of China. Strong man. You could go all over Hollywood. You couldn't get an actor to play the role of President Xi. He's a great guy in many respects, but he's not too in love with our country, I can tell you that. But I said very innocently, "Do you have a drug problem?" First time I met him. And he looked at me like, what kind of a stupid question is that? No, I said, "President, do you have a drug problem in China?" No, I don't have it. Why would we have a drug problem? I said, "Well, what do you do?" "Oh, quick trial. Quick trial." I said, "What's a quick trial?" Quick trial is they bring drug dealers quickly to trial, and if they're guilty, it's immediate execution. Now, it sounds horrible. Sounds horrible. It does, sounds horrible. But every drug dealer in this country, they say on average, will kill at least 500 people. Some people think it's much higher than that. So you would stop it. And I believe if you instituted the death penalty for drug dealers, traffickers, I believe that drug dealing would go down 50% on day one. 50%. I really believe that. I think it goes down the day you institute it. I'll tell you one thing, if I'm a drug dealer, I'm going to say, no thanks, I'm going someplace else. And so are other people. In Singapore, you see what's going on in Singapore? Very rich society, very powerful on drugs. They have no drug problem whatsoever. A lot of money, plenty of money to buy drugs. They have no drug problem. They have the death penalty for drug dealers. Other countries likewise. We form blue ribbon committees where we put our great First Lady, Melania. She's in charge. We have a blue ribbon committee headed by the First Lady and very nice people, fine, fine people, dilettantes, socialites. If they ever met a real killer drug dealer, if they ever met El Chapo or any of these people, I think that would be the end of them. They'd say, I'm not doing this anymore. But we have blue ribbon committees headed up by great people that really are well-meaning. And I will tell you, our First Lady did a good job. She worked hard, and we got drugs down 19%. That's great. But you know what that is? That's like nothing. And today it's worse than it's ever been because the border's so open that not only people are coming through, and bad ones, criminals are emptying their jails into our country, but drugs are coming into our country at a level that we've never seen before. Fentanyl coming in from China. You know, I was with Xi and I said, listen, you can't send fentanyl, you can't do it. They were really cutting down. They were really cutting down. Things were going really well. And then this tragedy happened in November, 2 years ago. A tragedy. It was a tragedy for our country what happened because of what's gone on. All they had to do was leave everything in place. This place was going so good, and they couldn't help themselves. What a sad thing. But when I see these blue ribbon committees, it's just, and everyone wants to get on. Could I get on the blue ribbon committee, says the local architect? Yeah. But they don't know what's happening here. No, you need the death penalty for drug dealers. Drugs will go down immediately by 50% and probably more. But you have to mean it, and you have to mean it. And when you look at China and other places, they don't have a problem. If they had that problem, they wouldn't be doing what they're doing right now. And they weren't. They had this problem many, many decades ago. And other countries, far smaller, were able to invade them and take them over because everybody was suffering from drugs. And they said, we can't do this. So it's not very politically correct to say it, but you'll save millions and millions of lives. Last year, we lost probably 250,000 people to drugs. 250. There's no war. If you were at war, these are numbers that are bigger than war numbers. 250,000. They say it's 100,000. I say it's much more than that. It's probably much more than 250,000, but you also have destroyed millions and millions of families throughout our nation because of drugs. In places where there is a true breakdown of the rule of law, such as the most dangerous neighborhoods in Chicago, the next president should use every power at his disposal to restore order, and if necessary, that includes sending in the National Guard or the troops. Every American of every background deserves to live in safety and in peace. Every American. One of the things that we were saddled with, and one of the hardest decisions I had to make when I looked at some of these cities that were run by Democrats going so bad so fast, I wanted to send in the Guard, I wanted to send in the troops, and sometimes I did. In Minneapolis, I sent in the troops and saved the place. I was getting ready to send them in Seattle when, if you look at, I guess it was Antifa, took over a big portion. You don't read about that too much. Nothing happened to those people, or very little. I think nothing. But they took over a big portion of Seattle. The troops were ready to go in, and they heard that. All of a sudden, they decided to leave. Thank you very much for leaving. But, you know, the president is not supposed to be doing that. The president is supposed to do it at the request of the governor. Well, when the governor was a Democrat, or the mayors are Democrats, they don't want any help under any circumstances. Very much like on January 6th, where I offered Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of D.C. from 10 to 20,000 troops, because I thought the crowd was going to be very, very large coming in, because I felt it. You could see it. And they turned it down. And if they didn't turn it down, and Kash Patel is a witness, right? I think I can say you're a witness. But we have many other witnesses to that. From 10 to 20,000, they turned it down. And had they not turned it down, you wouldn't have had January 6th as we know it. But the president is not supposed to be sending in it at will. I think the next time, either we're going for a very quick change or we're sending them in, because we're not going to let Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, Portland is, they don't even, when the storefronts, they don't even use new storefronts. You know what they do? They just put up wooden barricades now for stores, for the few remaining. Places are burned out Hulk, and nothing happens to those people that have destroyed that place, that city. It's also time to take back our streets and public spaces from the homeless and the drug addicted and the dangerously deranged. Because no civilized society can allow this depravity and squalor to continue. You can't let this happen. Places like San Francisco, the backyard of Nancy Pelosi. She, by the way, has a big wall around her house. You know that, right? But it's so bad. It's gotten so bad. People are leaving. Nobody wants to have office space there. Who would want to have an office space when you're walking through a lot of people that are unfortunate and in many cases very sick, mentally ill? It's actually dangerous to walk into your office. If liberals think that it's somehow compassionate, then you're going to have to let them invite the homeless to camp in their backyards, in their homes, and ruin their property and attack their families and use drugs where their children are trying to play. And all of a sudden, that'll stop very quickly. The only way you're going to remove the homeless encampments and reclaim our downtowns is to open up large parcels, large tracts of relatively inexpensive land on the outer skirts of the various cities and bring in medical professionals, psychiatrists, psychologists, and drug rehab specialists and create tent cities. You have to have it. They have tents right now. They're living in tents with holes in them. You don't have time to build buildings. You can do that later, but you have to get the people off the street. We have to reclaim our cities. And now you'll have people that will be taken care of. We'll have doctors, we'll have everything. And we have to relocate the homeless until they can get their lives back and then come back to where they want to be. And we'll bring a lot of them back. They will come back. But right now, nobody's coming back. You have no medical help. You have no nothing. It's so dangerous, those streets. Los Angeles is so bad. San Francisco, every city that's run by Democrats, so bad. We want them to succeed. We want people to succeed. But they cannot be allowed to turn every sidewalk and public park into their personal campground. It's so dangerous. As everyone here in Texas knows firsthand, there is another horrific disaster we must confront if we want to restore safety in our country. At long last, we must stop the invasion at our southern border. It's an invasion. Our country is being invaded. Our country's being invaded just like a military force was pouring in. Just last month, an illegal alien here in Texas was indicted for the cold-blooded murders of 4 elderly women throughout the state, and he's been accused of links to the deaths of at least 24 people. 24 people. Perhaps the deadliest serial killer in Texas history. They're now saying he could be the deadliest serial killer. He's an illegal alien. Earlier this year, an illegal alien fugitive with a prior arrest for aggravated assault and many other arrests viciously shot and killed a Harris County police officer at a traffic stop. No reason whatsoever, none. And in New Mexico last year, an illegal alien criminal out of jail on unsecured bond was charged with decapitating a man, mutilating his body, and kicking his head around like a soccer ball all over the public park. Think of this. Animals. Never forget, every death at the hands of a criminal, illegal alien is entirely preventable. This is all preventable stuff. We remember Kate, don't we? We remember Kate standing in San Francisco with her father. We remember that. A man who came in 5 times at least and shot beautiful Kate dead. Republicans in Congress must make clear that on their watch, not a single penny of taxpayer money will go to funding Joe Biden's open border agenda. It's a sick agenda. It's a sick agenda. Makes no sense. And some things make sense. You know, I understand the other side. You always have to understand the other side. I understand the other side. Open borders. Nobody has open borders. It makes no sense. You know, we fight and spend billions and billions and even trillions of dollars defending the borders of countries that are 7,000 miles away, but they don't want to spend any money to defend our border. Makes no sense, does it? Next year, we have to use the purse strings to send a message to every would-be illegal alien all over the world. If you break into our country illegally, you will be caught. We will detain you, and we will quickly send you back to the place from which you came or put you in prison immediately. And we did that. We told people, remember at the beginning we had these big caravans. We didn't have the caravans, and now they're starting at caravans. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. But the Obama administration had a big problem before us because they would bring people into Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, and Mexico, lesser extent. And they'd bring them back, and they wouldn't let us land the planes. They wouldn't let them have buses. They wouldn't let them come back into the country. So you'd have the worst gang members in the world, mostly MS-13. And if they came from Honduras, we couldn't get them back. And I had some incredible people in my office, Border Patrol people, guys like also Tom Homan and Mark Morgan. So many others. These are great people. These are brave people. But they'd be in and they'd say to me, tell me, we can't bring them back, sir, because the country won't allow. I said, really, why won't they allow? They won't allow. They don't want MS-13 back in their country. They force them out. They put them into caravans. They force them out. And why wouldn't they? How smart. I mean, you don't have to be. They don't want them in their country. So what happens is I said, all right, good. How much money do we pay those three countries? Sir, we pay them $750 million a year. It's a lot of money, right? Peanuts compared to what we pay to some, but $750 million. I say, that's all right. Put out a notice immediately that we're stopping payment. We're not going to pay anymore. And they said, sir, I don't think it'll work. We tried everything. That's why we kept him here, because we couldn't get him out. That's all right. You let them know we're not going to pay any more money to them. The following morning, I got calls from the three presidents of the country. President, there seems to be a problem. Our funds have been cut off. Yeah, they've been cut off because you wouldn't allow these people back that you probably pushed into our country because you didn't want them because they were criminals and they were in jail in many cases. You got to take them back. Oh, President, this was just a minor misunderstanding. We would love to have MS-13 come back into our country. And they took them back, and we couldn't get them out of here fast enough, I will tell you. It's true, Carrie. Carrie will do it. Carrie's going to stop them at the border. There's nobody coming in. Arizona, that'll be a safe place again. This guy Kelly, by the way, he's done nothing. He's done nothing. Blake Masters is going to do a fantastic job, Carrie. Kelly's got nothing going. He never did a thing. Never did a thing. We'll also need a record increase in the number of new ICE officers and Border Patrol officers to resume the enforcement of our immigration laws and to deport the illegal aliens Joe Biden is refusing to deport. They won't even take out illegal aliens out of our country. In addition, we should pass much tougher penalties for repeat immigration violators, of which there are many. If you're a foreign national who repeatedly tramples upon the laws of our nation, you should be looking at spending a long time in jail. We can't do it anymore. We can't do it. We're like the poor, stupid people that take everybody, including criminals and some of the worst murderers in the world. As we secure the border, another key priority for the next Congress and the next president will be to drain the swamp once and for all. To remove rogue bureaucrats and root out the deep state, Congress should pass groundbreaking reform, empowering the president to ensure that any federal employee who is corrupt, incompetent, or unnecessary for the job can be told, you're fired. You ever hear that? You're fired. Yeah, fired. Our current appeals process to remove these bureaucrats, people that can really be bad, they can even be thieves. You can catch them stealing large sums of money. You have to go through a 3-stage appeals process, which takes on average 5 years per stage. 15 years, you'll be gone, you'll be out of office by that time. In other words, to fire someone who is doing a bad job if the government wins will take more than a decade under the current system. Almost all politicians won't start that process because they'll be gone and they know it. You know, a lot of politicians, they go to Washington, they're all set, and then they get caught up with people that say, hey, I'll be here a hell of a lot longer than you will. And the politician just goes about having nice dinners. We can't do it anymore. We got to run this country properly. Because it's time to clean house in Washington, D.C. And we did a lot of it, but nobody knew the deep state was that deep. We did a lot of it. As we take power out of Washington, we also need to take power back from the left-wing lunatics who are indoctrinating our youth. We have to finally and completely smash the radical left's corrupt education establishment. The current system is sick. It's sick. We have the lowest scores almost in the world, and we spend more per pupil than any other nation. School prayer is banned, but drag shows are allowed to permeate the whole place. It's okay. You can't teach the Bible, but you can teach children that America is evil and that men are able to get pregnant. Whatever it takes, conservatives must liberate America's children from the captivity of these Marxist teachers' unions. That's what they are. Where do they come from? Yeah, where do they come from? We need to defend parents' rights. Think of this. I gave a talk a few days ago, and I was talking about defending parents' rights, and I just said, you know, it says parents' rights. I said, can you imagine we're even talking, we are going to defend parents' rights. Did you ever think 10 years ago, 5 years ago, that we would be fighting for parents' rights? What's more basic than parents' rights, especially parents' rights over their children? We're trying to defend parents' rights. It's so crazy. Across the country, we need to implement strict prohibitions on teaching inappropriate racial, sexual, and political material to America's school children in any form whatsoever. And if federal bureaucrats are going to push this radicalism, we should abolish the Department of Education. And we will keep men out of women's sports. That's another one. And by the way, we have a great person here. Where's our beautiful, great swimmer? Gaines, where's Gaines? Look at, come up here. Will you please come up here? Come up, come up, come up. This is a great champion. And she was beating everybody, and then one day she looked over and said, that's the largest human being I've ever seen. Come here. Come on up. She's been so brave, you know, because a lot of people say you can't talk about it. They told me, please don't mention that, sir. It's not politically correct. And I did. About 3 weeks ago, the place went crazy. It was the largest applause I've ever heard. Come on up here.